All right, we are back with another Pick'em video. It is Monday, February 24th in the NBA. Happy birthday to one of my best friends out there, Silas. Silas, give us some luck. Also, maybe say happy birthday to Silas in the comments down below. But we're going to be going over my favorite plays for today. We are going to go a little bit lighter, so I'm not going to talk about 5 or 6 plays, even though there's a decent amount of games out there. I think 8 or 9 games today. But yeah, it's a weird time coming back from the All-Star break. I know a lot of people are struggling during this time. Since I've come back from the All-Star break and we've been doing videos, we were on that 30-6 run or something crazy before the All-Star break. Now the last few picks were 6-8 since returning. So obviously came back down to earth. 6-8 isn't the worst thing in the world. That's going to happen. I've had days where I had suck, a few days in a row, but it's going to even out. It's going to get back on track. And again, as we get more knowledge and more history of what these guys are going to be doing, looking like after the All-Star break, that's when teams make adjustments. That's where teams, maybe certain guys are getting a little bit more minutes. Maybe guys are getting a little bit more usage. That's when you want to make those adjustments, especially teams that are making this playoff push. But even the bad teams, maybe guys aren't playing as much as they would be in a normal situation when they kind of know, okay, we're kind of at this point looking more towards the lottery than a play-in or playoff spot. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. We are going to go over the recap of yesterday's, or I guess not yesterday. I don't really make videos on Sundays. I'm glad I didn't make a video yesterday. It was a weird day in the NBA. But yeah, we're going to go over the recap. We're going to talk about some back-to-back teams. We're going to talk about some injury news, and then we'll hop into the plays. And I'm not going to try to force anything here. It's, again, the leans in the videos have not been doing as well, and I think they're leans for a reason. There's a certain reason why I'm not all in on these certain plays, but that makes it a little bit more intriguing to go to the picks that I am really liking and maybe go a little bit harder on those, dive a little bit deeper, and get the plays out, that we want to be attacking. So that's what we're going to be doing here. If you're new around here, definitely go ahead and subscribe. Leave the video a like, comment something down below. I'm very confident over the next month or so, this is when the NBA really starts to pick up. Teams are really locked in, and again, it might be a little bit harder to cap right after the All-Star break, but as we get rotations and minutes and things like that getting into place for the next few months, I think we're going to be able to get some really good reads here. So let's hop in the recap. We'll talk about the injury news, and then we'll get into the plays. All right, so quick recap of Saturday's video. Again, no video yesterday. I hate kind of betting on sports on Sundays, even baseball. It's kind of a similar thing. But Joel Embiid over 26.5 points. He ended up not playing the entire fourth quarter. Now he's dealing with a second opinion on his knee issues that he's been dealing with. I kind of feel bad for him, but at the same time, I've never really liked how Joel Embiid plays. He puts himself into a lot of situations where he could hurt himself, falling to the floor a lot, looking for those foul shots, and he's even injured his own players by flopping around. So I'm not a big Embiid fan, but I do feel bad for him. It kind of reminds me of DeMarcus Cousins when he started getting a little bit older. Similar type build, huge 7-footer that was really, really good. Obviously, Embiid has had more longevity, and he's a little bit older now. But yeah, dealing with issues as these big guys, it starts to get concerning if this is the beginning of the end of their career. But Embiid, when he's on the floor and gets to normal minutes, he is dominant. He just didn't get there for us in terms of the minutes and didn't look good throughout the entire game, really throughout the entire season. Jokic, kind of totally different story here. They got beat up by the Lakers. Luka and LeBron look like they are starting to click really, really well. Jokic didn't score the ball very well. He rebounded decently, 38.5 points and rebounds. Didn't get there for us. He did triple-double in that game, so he had a decent game. But again, they lost by like 20 points. For Devin Booker, he did score the ball well. He went over that 26.5 points. I think he also hit his assist prop as well. So he had a really good game and a good matchup. So that was one of the best reads of the night that we had. And then for Luka Doncic, the plus money plays, these were leans, but I do want to point some of these out. 3.5 turnovers. I kind of mentioned it against Jokic. They looked really, really good. LeBron and him connected on a few full court passes. I think he only had 1 turnover in that one. So, it was fun to watch, but didn't get the turnovers. And then in the same breath, Austin Reeves over 2.5 3-pointers made. He did get there as Luka wasn't turning the ball over. Austin Reeves was making threes. I think he had 4 of those. So again, not the worst day in the world. We cashed a plus money play. It was a lean, but in terms of the official picks, only a 1 and 2 day. All right, so jumping into teams on a back-to-back, there are 8 teams on a back-to-back. I always like to point this out because if a team's on a back-to-back, some players don't play as much, some players don't play as well, some players might pop up on the injury report, so I always like to point this out. And we got 8 of them today, which again, one of the main reasons this video is coming out later. I wanted to wait on some of this news. But the Thunder, the Timberwolves, the Pistons, the Hawks, Wizards, Heat, Clippers, Pacers, all on back-to-backs. So I always want to point that out. Just consider that fact if you're thinking about betting on these teams. Maybe look into back-to-back sets and see if that affects any of their type of play or their minutes. So let's go into the injury news now. For the Clippers and the Detroit Pistons, this will be the first game we go over. No Kawhi, no Norman Powell, and no Ben Simmons for the Clippers. That's obviously huge for a lot of usage type guys for this Clippers team. You can see James Harden's going to get a huge usage boost, already gets a huge ton of usage, but with all these guys off the court, mega usage boost. But also a couple of these other guys, Amir Coffey, Derrick Jones Jr., a couple of these other guys might want to be good looks going up against this Detroit Pistons team, which is a pretty good defense. But just wanted to point that out. For Detroit, on the other side of things, still no Jaden Ivey, pretty much the only guy that matters on this team. Fontecchio is going to be a game-time decision. Moving into the Denver Nuggets, seems like this is a common theme now, but a lot of players get listed as probable tags. They should be ready to go. Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon. And then Peyton Watson, still the main guy that's going to be out off the bench for this team. He's been out for a while, though. For Indiana, TJ McConnell didn't play yesterday, I don't think, so he's going to be a game-time decision, kind of the main guy for that team. For the Chicago Bulls, we get Kobe White and Vucevic as game-time decisions, but probable. Ayo Dosunmu is going to be out for this game. Patrick Williams is going to be out for this game. And Jalen Smith, that gives a lot of different opportunities for a couple of these other guys. See if any usage boosts. Yeah, Taylor Horton-Tucker, I guess, but not a whole bunch of time for him. Lonzo Ball gets a pretty good usage boost. Giddey, Buzelis, a couple of these guys getting massive boosts when there's certain players are out. So just keep that in mind. For Philadelphia, we got Embiid and Maxey game-time decisions. I'm going to be steering clear from Embiid. I'd be surprised if he plays in this game. And then Maxey being game-time decision, it's going to be hard to get to this Philadelphia team until we know more information. For the Brooklyn Nets, we got Clowney, Russell, Cam Thomas. We've seen this for a few times in a row now, but that's going to be consistent for their injury report. Obviously, guys, in terms of a usage boost here, might as well point it out. Whitehead, I'm not looking too much into that, but Cam Johnson, obviously a guy that's been pretty consistent when he gets the usage, 4.5% boost for him. Claxton's been really good the past few games, actually getting the minutes and some time, which is nice to see. And then what was the other one? Keon Johnson getting a little bit more. No, Jalen Wilson getting a little bit boost. Same with Keon Johnson. So definitely some guys on the Brooklyn Nets. Huge usage boost and good spot here against the Wizards. On the Wizards side of things, Alex Sarr and Chris Middleton, who made his debut last game for this Wizards team. Just keep that in mind. This Brooklyn team has a pretty good defense. It's a -3 spread, so could be a close one here. 217 is a very low total. Marcus Smart, also a game-time decision for this team. Bunch of weirder new faces for this Wizards team, especially with Middleton and Marcus Smart coming onto the floor for them. Middleton projected for 25 minutes. Some of these other guys, Marcus Smart, 18 minutes. Corey Kispert's been really good and seemed to play pretty well alongside those other guys. So a couple spots for the Wizards. For Miami, Kevin Love, game-time decision. Jokic is going to be out, I think, for a while. I think he just broke his hand. Yeah. So definitely a big usage boost for some guys, I would assume, like Andrew Wiggins, maybe guys like Jaime Jaquez, Khalil Ware, and Tyler Hero are going to be probable tags. They should be good to go. But in terms of usage boost, nothing too crazy for a lot of these guys, actually. But yeah, just keep that in mind for the injuries on that team. Jokic has been a guy that's been getting pretty good minutes for them. For Atlanta, Trae Young, game time decision, probable tag. He's been doing that a lot. V. Krejci still out, Larry Nance still out. For Minnesota and OKC, this is a replay of yesterday's game where the OKC Thunder, that game was pretty crazy, but the Thunder did pull away. We're not going to potentially see Gobert again. He's a game-time decision. Randall looks like he's a doubtful tag. He's missed the last few games. DiVincenzo still out for this team. He's been out for a while. And then for the Thunder, looks like Chet Holmgren, not out, as of right now, not on the injury report, but a guy that obviously did come back from injury relatively recently. So just tread lightly with him if he potentially pops up onto the injury report. AJ Mitchell is the only one there right now. For the Portland Trailblazers, Ayton still out, Thibault still out, Robert Williams still out, Klingan going to be potentially getting a whole bunch of boards or time against this Utah team. And when he gets the time, he can definitely do some damage. With no Ayton and no Rob Williams, projected minutes for Klingan, 25 minutes, obviously a big body there, rookie. So it's hard to get him a ton of minutes, but 25, pretty good. And then these other guys probably getting a decent boost as well. We can look at the usage boost. Jabari Walker definitely getting a whole bunch of time without these guys in the court, and a big usage boost. Tumani Kamara, and of course, Klingan on that side. For the Utah Jazz, Clarkson, Collins, Walker Kessler, Sexton, Markkanen, all out. We've seen this before. Isaiah Collier, definitely going to be the guy to go to, probably in this spot in terms of assists, in terms of his fantasy score, whatever you want to be looking at, but definitely some other guys getting some usage boosts, I can imagine. Sensabaugh in only 59 minutes on the court with these guys all off, 11.6, big boost. Keontae George, obviously a big one. Collier, a lot of guys getting boosts in that regard. For the Charlotte Hornets, Okogie and Mark Williams is going to be out, so a lot of use of Nurkic. He's been diming up the ball pretty well. Shoots a lot of threes randomly for this team now. But yeah, he's kind of doing whatever he wants in Charlotte after being kind of the fall guy for the Phoenix Suns. and they still continue to struggle. And then the Sacramento side of things, no injuries to kind of close out this injury report. So definitely a long one. Again, this is the main reason I waited to make this video. I wanted to get to it last night, get back on track to the earlier uploads, but it's hard when you have so much question marks, and especially at this weird time in the NBA. I don't want to be forcing plays earlier on just to get the video out earlier when we have all these kind of question marks going into the day. All right, so moving into the tool that we're going to be using here to make all these plays, it's Props Madness. If you want to check this out, if you watch this video and you're like, I have to get my hands on this thing, at least try it out, you can for 7 days totally free using my link in the description and my code RICH. When you use code RICH, you're going to get that free week, but you're also going to get 25% off your first month or your first year. And yes, they do WNBA, so if you want to be betting in the summer and not just baseball, WNBA could be something that really could come in handy with this tool. So definitely check out Props Madness. They're an awesome tool that we use every single video, and you're going to see why it's so powerful. And we're going to be starting with Nikola Jokic, a guy that burned us the last video we did, but I'm not going to go into his points. I'm not going to go into his assists. I am just going to be focusing on his rebounds line at 12.5 going up against the Indiana Pacers. Now, when I was first looking at the Pacers side of things, I liked a lot of unders. I liked Pascal Siakam under. These are not picks. I was just leaning these ways for a lot of these certain types of players, specifically because of their back-to-backs, because they don't shoot as well on back-to-backs and they allow more rebounds on back-to-backs. It's nothing too crazy in terms of the difference, but you can see a lot of these guys are hitting the unders, and the Pacers don't win a lot of these games, probably because they're not shooting as well. So Pascal Siakam, not really hitting his lines in terms of back-to-backs. Tyrese Halliburton, not really hitting his lines on back-to-backs, very 50-50 on these games. He's creeping over in some of these. Guys like Miles Turner, back-to-backs, it's very, under 50%. Same with Benedict Mathurin. A lot of these games on back-to-back sets, these guys aren't hitting their lines. So the first thing I immediately thought is, okay, I don't love any of these guys in particular to go to their unders, but I do like some rebound potential for this other side. I looked at all the guys, and I'm going to be landing on Nikola Jokic, that 12.5 line. So there's a lot of different reasons I like this one. We're going to kind of go step by step and look at every single thing I determined or thought of when looking at this line, and I think it's going to look pretty good once we're at the end of this. We can start comboing these things up, but again, we'll first start step by step. So first of all, he's projected for 36 minutes. We can see that using RotoWire. Go to this game, projected minutes. You can see Nikola Jokic projected for 36 minutes. So right off the bat, he should be expected to play a whole bunch of time. This is a -5 spread in favor of the Nuggets, which we'll look at in a second here. But we'll get rid of these 44-point-minute games, and we'll go to 30 to 40-minute games, or 32 to 40-minute games, giving 4 minutes on each side of the projection. And he's over in 58%. So really good hit rate. I don't have to tell you that Nikola Jokic is a good rebounder in this league. He's able to hit this line for sure. Why do I like this one specifically? Well, let's get rid of the minutes and just look at the rebounds allowed going up against this matchup. 19th in terms of rebounds allowed for this Pacers team, 25th in terms of rebounds allowed to centers, which is not something I look positionally a lot unless it's really a true center or a true point guard or something like that. Obviously, Jokic is a true center, so I do want to look at the position ranked as well. And just get rid of these minutes. Let's look at rebounds, opponent rebounds allowed. They're ranked 19th, so we can get rid of those top 10 teams in terms of rebounding. This jumps to a 61% hit rate. If you want to look positionally rather than just rebounds allowed, you can just drop down this bottom 15 teams and look at the bottom 15s in terms of rebounded allowed to centers, because they're ranked 25th. This jumps to a 63% hit rate. So I'm liking this already right off the bat. This is looking really good in terms of these different things. Now, a couple guys have been missing for the Denver Nuggets the past few weeks in terms of Aaron Gordon and Russell Westbrook and things, Jamal Murray. But all these guys are projected to play, at least probable for Aaron Gordon and Jamal Murray. And in this one, he's only over in 50% of games, but they're expected to win this game. If you win this game, 61% hit rate. If you win by the spread of 5, 77.8% hit rate. And then you consider the fact that, again, I can't really even make the chart look like this, but the Pacers aren't a back-to-back. We know, they haven't been as good on back-to-back sets. They miss more shots. They allow more rebounds. Now I'm liking this one even a little bit more, considering the fact that the Pacers aren't a back-to-back. So now this chart's looking a whole lot better, even with all these guys in the lineup. If they're going to win by 5+ or even just win in general, that's looking really, really good. And then even looking one more step deeper here, looking at his rebound chances just with all these guys active and in the lineup, looks like he averages 20.5 for the entire season, but 19.4 with all these guys in the lineup. Obviously, Jokic is going to get boards regardless of who's on the court, but the rebound chances drops down to about 19.5. So looking at rebound chances, we can do that. If he's going to get, 16 to 23 rebound chances, 67% hit rate, even with all these guys in the lineup. Now let's say they win this game. How about an 80% hit rate on 4 or 5 of these games? really, really liking what I'm seeing here in terms of the really diving deep into this one. Again, you got to consider the fact that the Pacers are back-to-back, maybe even more misses for the opposing team. So really, really liking this. 14.6 on this graph. Obviously, we dove really deep and looked at specifics, only getting this down to 5 games. But even so, a lot of these hit rates are above 60%, which I'm really liking. But really, any way you slice it, whether the fact that he's got a good rebounding matchup in general, he's got a really good rebounding matchup to centers, he's got all these guys playing in the lineup, but they're projected to win. The Pacers on a back-to-back, a lot of things going into this play that make a lot of sense for me. So Jokic, the first play on the board that I really found that I'm liking a whole lot. Diving deep into it, see the hit rates in terms of these specific type of matchups. Liking Jokic over 12.5 boards as the first play. Moving along to the next game here, really just the next team that I want to point out. I don't know if these are going to be official video picks, but I definitely want to point these guys out because Cam Johnson has a really good matchup here. Spot up, transition, free throws, handoff. This Wizards team is obviously bad in all those. They did make a few changes. Marcus Smart coming into town, but he's not as the defender he was the past few years, and also he's only playing like 20 minutes in these games typically. But Cam Johnson, with all these injuries, really, really good spot. Obviously, we looked at the matchup he's got going on. Anytime someone's playing the Wizards, you want to look at an over potentially for those guys. But yeah, his usage is going to be probably pretty high. He's projected for 32 minutes. I could see even more with that. Games without Cam Thomas, this jumps to a 45% hit rate. If you take D'Lo out of the lineup too, 61% hit rate. And then if you take Clowney out of the lineup as well, this is a 67% hit rate, including 4 straight games on the over. Now Cam Johnson been getting a decent amount of minutes in these games too, 36, 35, 38 minutes, 35 just recently. In the 2 games he missed, only 31 and 29. These are games they lost by 23, and then back in November when he was not as good, he's definitely getting a little bit more of a rhythm. I think if we see a little bit more time on the court, a little bit more usage from him, he could definitely get there. Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to make this an official video pick. Definitely someone I'm interested in going to in terms of the overs. Just wanted to point that out because he hasn't been hitting it recently, but I think his usage is going to be high enough to get this in a good matchup. Claxton might be the guy that I really land on. For all my PrizePicks Underdog guys, I think fantasy score could be a great way to get to Claxton. He's been scoring the ball extremely well, but I also really like his rebound potential in this lineup. Going up against a team that allows a ton of rebounds to similar types of players. 11 of 14 players have gone over the rebounds lines against this team, not including Claxton himself. But if you look at that matchup, you can see head-to-head, he only played 24 minutes in that game. He was not getting a ton of time in the beginning of the year. Now he's projected for, I think, 31 minutes in this game. If I go over here and go to this game, he's projected for a decent amount of minutes with these injuries. Yeah, Claxton's projected for 31 minutes. His minutes have been rising, and you can kind of see that during this stretch, he's been rebounding the ball extremely well. Another thing I looked at is actually his blocks here, even blocks and steals. He's been blocking, he's been stealing. He's a good defender. We know he can do what he can do at the rim, so a good scoring potential here. You can see similar types of players scoring. All of his stuff comes right at the rim. Transition, pick and roll, big man. This is a really, really weak team to centers, which is why I always want to point to them when they're going up against a Wizards team. You want to be looking at the opposing centers. And now with Nick Claxton coming into form, I think this 12.5 points is a little bit low. I think his rebounds line's a little bit too low, his blocks line, his steals line, whatever it might be. I think this is a perfect spot to go to Nick Claxton in terms of fantasy score. So maybe I'll look at his fantasy score right now on those different platforms. Obviously, not everyone can go to fantasy score. I think he's definitely in a good spot to get some blocks. Maybe lean towards his rebounds in terms of the spot here, just because I don't love the hit rate on the points. But again, considering he might get 30 plus minutes, that points line, I assume, 60% of games he's gone over his points line in games he's seeing 30 plus minutes. I think we could see that from him tonight in a potentially close game. You can see just all the green here for a guy him to score. Fantasy score would be my favorite thing to go here, but points, rebounds, blocks, whatever you want to be looking at for Claxton, I think he's in a really good spot here. Moving along to the next official video pick here, it's going to be Josh Giddey for the Bulls over his rebounds and assist line at 14.5. I know a lot of books have this at 15.5. I think that's also a pretty good move here, and I think you could look at his rebounds and assist line alone just to get a better sense of this. Let's start with assists. First of all, 65% of his assists either come at the rim or above the break threes. They're ranked 27th and 29th in terms of above the break threes and restricted area defense. Love that right off the bat. How about similar types of players to Josh Giddey? Every single one of them going over their lines, 7 of 7, including Giddey himself, where he had 7 rebounds. If you want to look at the rebounds, you're going to get a similar type of scenario here. 9 of 12 similar types of players to Josh Giddey going over the rebounds line, including Giddey himself. Again, this is about a month ago, but had 10 rebounds against them. He also had 7 rebounds against them back in December. So I didn't even point that other matchup out. Back in December, he had 11 assists against this team, so he's got great history against this team in terms of rebounding, in terms of assisting as well. I like the combo line here at 18 and 17 in the head-to-head matchups. It's a 14.5 line, 15.5 on some books, but really, really liking this for Josh Giddey. And the reason is not even just because of his history against this team, not even against the matchup, but how about the injury news for this team? A lot of guys game time decisions, Kobe White, Vucevic. The main guy I'm looking at here, though, that we know is out is Ayo Dosunmu. In games that he's seeing playing time without Ayo Dosunmu, 72.7% hit rate, and absolutely crushing these in a lot of these. Looks like a low mark of 18 other than the games that he's really getting shut down, but he's got a great history against the 76ers team. Potentially no Joel Embiid in this one, and now no Ayo Dosunmu for the Bulls. Really, really liking what I'm seeing from Josh Giddey. I also want to point out his minutes here because he's projected for 33 minutes, the most on the team for this. And we can see over 28 minutes in games. How about 88.9% of games going over this? If you want to take out like the top 2 games or whatever that he played a ton of time, 87% hit rate. He's projected for 33 minutes. I think 28 to 38 is a pretty good middle ground there. So really, really good history against this team. Really, really good hit rate without Ayo Dosunmu. And considering the fact that he's going to get the time in the court, this is a 4.5 spread in favor of Philadelphia. I'm still liking this for Josh Giddey. Really, really good spot for him to get some boards, to get some assists. I think you could do the combo, but I think you could also mess around with maybe comboing or parlaying his over assists with that over rebounds. Also in really good spot to do that. So Josh Giddey, really loving this matchup for him. And then the same breath here, I want to mention Kobe White's scoring capabilities without Ayo Dosunmu. He's over in 70% of games. Now, I don't like this play as much as the Josh Giddey play, but definitely something that I would look into. Kobe White over his points. Looks like we're getting really good value here too. Every book's at 19.5. All favoring the under, so plus money play, plus 100 play on the over 19.5 points. And again, the hit rate kind of speaks for itself without Ayo Dosunmu. He didn't go over against this team specifically back in December 8th. That was the one time he played against them, but that was a game with Ayo, with Zach LaVine in the lineup as well. He only had 13 points on a 16.5 line, but similar types of players, especially more recently, have been going over their lines pretty easily. 22.5 line for Hero, he had 30. Kyrie, 26.5 line, he had 34. It's a question mark if Embiid's going to play or not. Obviously, they take a more hit if Embiid is ruled out. He's getting a second opinion on that knee. Didn't play the last fourth quarter in the last game. That was a game that we bet on him, so not sure if we're going to see Embiid here or not. But regardless, without Ayo Dosunmu in the lineup, you can also consider the fact that Zach LaVine's not here anymore over in both those games. Obviously, we just saw a 70% hit rate without Ayo, 60% hit rate without Zach LaVine. Kobe White pretty consistent other than these last 3 games. 2 games against the Pistons, which I don't think I love his matchup there, even though it was a pretty good matchup, but he just didn't do well there. But kind of got back on track against the Suns. So wanted to point that out. He is in a good spot, especially again mainly because of Ayo Dosunmu out of the lineup and Zach LaVine. But yeah, he's got a decent matchup in terms of transition, spot up, above the break threes, at the rim. Definitely a lean for Kobe White over his points. So you've made it this far in the video. I do want to still rip through a couple leans that I have, guys that are in really, really good spots. I don't know if I'm officially going to go to them, but definitely guys I'm going to be looking into a little bit more over the next few hours. But if you can go ahead and leave the video a like, comment something down below, subscribe if you are new. All those things do help, push this video out a little bit more, especially with this later upload. I could have forced one out earlier in the day, but I didn't want to with all the injury news and the question marks going on during this video. Rudy Gobert got ruled out. Chad Holmgren, who wasn't even on the injury report, got ruled out. Again, we talked about the back-to-back situation there. But yeah, definitely some guys in really good spots. So we're going to fire out some leans to kind of end the video here. All right, so to end the video, I do want to fire off a bunch of these leans. There's a bunch of plays that I'm really liking. I don't know if I'm officially going to get there, but want to point them out for you guys. So Dyson Daniels over his rebounds and assists has been super consistent. We're also getting really good value on this play, plus money on some books, but other very good value. I wouldn't play this on PrizePicks or Underdog just because you're not getting as good market value. But if you can get plus money or minus 110 for this play, I think it's a really good look considering the fact that his hit rate is awesome. I don't hate the matchup here. You can see rebounds and assists allowed 24th and 21st, so definitely some opportunities for some rebounds and assists here. Dyson Daniels projected for 36 minutes. You can see games without Jalen Johnson. He's over this in 65% of those games. Take DeAndre Hunter out of the equation too, 67% of these games. So yeah, Dyson Daniels, this continues to be a wagon. I don't see why this doesn't hit again. So definitely a lean for me in this one, but wanted to point him out. And then the other side of the court here, we got Tyler Hero, who's been playing out of his mind, 40, 28, and 40 the last few games. Now he's got a very, very easy matchup. Pick and roll ball handlers, that's where he gets most of his points. 28th there, 28th above the break threes, 27th in terms of restricted area. This is a really good spot for him head-to-head. He already went over against his team, so Tyler Hero definitely one guy that I want to look into a little bit more. 26.5 does seem a little bit too low. Now, he played yesterday on back-to-backs. He's been okay, about 50% hit rate, but back-to-backs without Jimmy Butler, can we see that? Is that a better hit rate? Still 50%, but without Jimmy Butler, obviously he's been pretty good. 41% hit rate on the year. 26.5 is a little bit high for this guy, but perfect matchup, and he's been cooking. I don't mind going to Jimmy Butler again, or to Tyler Hero again. Moving along to the next game here, the Thunder and the Wolves. Back-to-back situation for a lot of these guys. Anthony Edwards, though, looking like a guy I might want to get to. This is at 25.5 in a lot of places, and he's just had 29 points against these guys yesterday. He also went over his 27.5 line. Now it's at 25.5. Maybe because it's a back-to-back, but he's been really consistent on back-to-back sets. He did play this team on a back-to-back earlier in the year. This is back in February, and he only had 23 points there, so maybe that's where this line's coming from. But he's been absolutely cooking. We can see Julius Randle's out of lineup. Without him in the lineup, 75% hit rate. How about a game without Julius Randle and Rudy Gobert? 66% hit rate, so he's getting a ton of usage, ton of shots. I think Edwards definitely in the spot here, even in a tough matchup. It's a horrible matchup, really, if you look at it. Maybe get some free throws, pick and roll ball handling above the break threes, transition. It's a hard matchup for any guard, but we just saw him at 29 points. I don't think the back-to-back's a huge problem for him, and they don't have Chet Holmgren in this one with him coming on the injury report. So Anthony Edwards, definitely more of a lean, but someone that looks really, really good considering all these injuries and things like that. On the same team here, Naz Reid's rebounds has always been a wagon here. Looks like it's up at 8.5. So Jaden McDaniels has been the other guy that I look at. His rebounds and assist line looking like 9.5, but looking really, really good. He just had 14 rebounds and assists against this team. This is a game that we're on back-to-backs for both of these. He's only gone over in 2 of these games, but both those games without Julius Randle, as we can see right here. So I don't mind that. Without Julius Randle, just in general, he's over in 70% of games. So both teams on a back-to-backs, maybe more shots clanking off the rim, more opportunities to rebound the ball. And that's where Jaden McDaniels, this line's probably going to get carried by his rebounds. Now, again, tough matchup, but he just did it 14 easily over this 9.5 line. And without Julius Randle, without Rudy Gobert in the lineup as well, he's been pretty consistent at hitting this one. The one miss without both these guys in the lineup was against the Rockets, where they lost by 6 and only had 9 on the hook. But Jaden McDaniels, a guy that I like to continue to go to in these spots without Randle, especially without Gobert, even in a tough matchup. Then the last lean here, Donovan Clingan over his rebounds line. You're going to say that looks crazy, only over this in 20% of games, and it's again favored on the under. 9.5 rebounds for plus money, or for value money. I definitely like that. Looks like PrizePicks has this at 9.0. Think you could play it that way as well. But I do like his spot here. Obviously, his minutes are the big thing. He's projected for 26 minutes now, I just checked. If he's going to get 20 plus minutes, 50% hit rate, he's going to get 22 plus minutes, how about an 85% hit rate? So they're expecting him to play. No Robert Williams, no DeAndre Ayton in this game. He's pretty much the only center that's going to be hopefully getting some time. Obviously, he can't get all the time because he's a big dude. But without Ayton, without Rob Williams in the lineup, he's over this in 71% of those games. And I don't hate the matchup here. Yes, the rebounds allowed isn't the best, but you can see defensive rank versus position. They allow the 20th or the 10th most rebounds in the league to the center position, so I don't hate this matchup for him, considering the fact he's going to be on the floor a whole bunch, and without these two guys on the floor, looking really, really good. So Clingan, another lean over his rebounds line, and again, we've given out a bunch of these lines that are favored the other way that we're looking, but we'll take the value plays on those. All right, so I went ahead and did a recap here, did a little write-up just because it was a little bit more confusing. We talked about a ton of different leans because I think there are some guys in really good spots here. I just want to look a little bit more into them, but a lot of these plays I'm really liking. For the main official video picks, I'm going to go with Nikola Jokic over 12.5 rebounds, Josh Giddey over 14.5 rebounds and assists. If you find this at 15 or 15.5, I think it's still a solid play, especially if you're getting some plus money or decent value on the play. And then Nick Claxton over his fantasy score against the Wizards. All centers are eating against the Wizards, and Claxton has been getting a little bit more time, especially with the injuries piling up. So those are the main ones I want to look at. If you want a specific line for Claxton, I do like his potential to score, honestly. I do like his potential to rebound, so look into either one of those plays. And then for the leans, I kind of tried to order them, but I do like all of them, to be honest. Dyson Daniels over 10.5 rebounds and assists. This is plus money on some books. Jaden McDaniels over 9.5 rebounds and assists. That's plus money on some books. Donovan Clingan over his 9 rebounds. Again, should get a ton of time. Anthony Edwards over 25.5 points, which is right now on FanDuel. A lot of books at 27, 26.5. FanDuel sitting at 25.5. That's where I'd take it. It's only minus 125 as well. But again, back-to-back situation, but he's been pretty good in those situations. I think he's in a good spot. Tyler Hoover, 26.5 points. I think he's got a great spot to score. Kobe White over 19.5 points. That's a plus money play. I'd take the value there. And then Cam Johnson over his 20.5 points. I think he's in a good spot as well. A little bit less of a good play just because the hit rate hasn't been there, but he's in a good spot to score the ball. So probably my least favorite lean is Cam Johnson. Everyone else looking really, really good. And the official bets, I think, are going to be these top three. So that's going to do it for me in this one. Definitely go ahead and leave the video a like, comment something down below, subscribe if you are new, all those good things. We talked about a ton of different plays in this one, but if you want access to all of my plays and just a fun community, you get access to my plays and a community where you can talk, share your plays, get other people's plays that they're sharing. We have a bunch of really good people in there. Check out the link in the description for the Discord community. It is a premium Discord. It's one of the cheapest ones, I think, out in the industry. And again, you get the community aspect on top of that. But yeah, there's plenty of different ways to get in for free. Signing up for PrizePicks, Underdog, Chalkboard, whatever it might be, using my code Betr, Sleeper, Dabble. All those platforms are ones that I prefer and ones I use most days. So it's a good way to get in for free if you use my code. Just gotta let me know in the comments down below or the free part of the Discord. Say, hey, use your code. I'd love to check you out for a free month, and I'll go ahead and do that. So check out the links in the description down below. It always helps the channel out. I appreciate everyone watching. Good luck, all your bets. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.